Hi guys, having my coffee. It's early. I was running a little late. Not that much. I'm not that bad. But here I am. So today I want to talk about the evaluation procedures. I know I talk about it a lot, but it's so important that everybody gets this right. So how to counter the school district, the best way to do it is to make sure that everything is in writing, and I mean everything. If you are making, if you say if you want to request, if you want your child evaluated, you need to put that in writing. Okay. Now the best way to figure out the areas that you want your child assessed in is if you go to all you have to do is type in this in your browser, 34 CFR 300 point. Um, okay, I'm good. Uh, Now I have to find. I have to go find it. It's under the regulations regarding the areas that your child could be. Oh, I'm sorry, 304. Okay, let me do it again. It's 34 CFR 300.304, and there's a whole list of evaluations as far as the procedures. Not a list of evaluations, but areas that your child can be assessed in. And what you want to do is you want to copy and paste that. Now, if you guys want to know what that actually says, I can put it on underneath this video. I think that's what I'm going to start doing, so you guys can go in and copy and paste it. I also have a template of all the areas that a child could be assessed in. Now, you can pull out some of that stuff. You can leave in some. I can also put that out there so you guys can use that. And what it does is it doesn't tell the school district, because I had an issue with this. So, but it doesn't tell the school district exactly what tools you want them to use, because they have an issue with that. And I get it, kind of, sort of, because the evaluations are very, very expensive. Hi, Tricia. So for an evaluator to purchase those evaluations cost money. So depending on which one you're asking for can cost a lot. But there are other assessments that are just as equal to, that can be as equal to. There are some that are poo caca. I mean, they're just no good. So you know all about this, Trisha. So you want to make sure that your kid, first of all, is that you're asking for all areas of suspected disability, whether they're directly related to the disability or not. And that means, for instance, that let's say your child has a, how can I do this? Let's say your child has a behavior disorder. Now, what people don't understand is that sometimes behaviors are manifested because a kid is frustrated with school, because the kid, can't access the curriculum because the kid doesn't understand that there's a learning disability. Okay, there's a math disability. There's something going on with the kid that's not allowing them to access the curriculum. So what the kid will do is they'll act out, okay, in class, and so that they can get thrown out. It's called task avoidance, okay? So if you're asking for them to do a functional behavioral assessment, for instance, that's a whole nother subject all by itself. But let's say you're asking for that. What you also want to ask for is an assessment for the WISC-5, and that's an intelligence test. And it can help to determine if there is a huge discrepancy between verbal and performance. If there's a huge discrepancy in those scoring, the chances are there's a learning disability or something going on. And every time you do a test, if you do an academic test like the Woodcock-Johnson or the Wyatt-3, if the scores are fluctuating all over the place, then that's an issue. If your kid is in the average range all across the board, you're good. But there's a trick to that too. Because if your kid is at average, but you still know your kid's having problems in school, then they did something wrong, or they didn't evaluate using all of the subtests. They did something wrong, because if everything is equal, then everything is equal. You can't have something over here that says your kid, he's not following directions. Can he read the directions? Can he comprehend the directions that are being given to him? I mean, what's the issue here? Did they evaluate in that area? So you have to be careful in what you're asking for. That's why the law is written the way it is. The law says that if there's a known disability, if the disability is known, then they have to evaluate in that area. However, it's not restricted to that area. because there could be other factors that are playing into your child's inability to access the general curriculum. That's another thing. The catchphrase for all of special education is your child's ability to access the general curriculum. And it could be anything that's preventing him from or her from doing that. It could be behaviors, okay? So if it's behaviors, kids constantly getting thrown out of class. Why is the kid getting thrown out of class all the time? Why? He's not just bad. Kids aren't just bad. There's reasons for the reasons why kids act in the way they do. It's like when a baby cries. Babies just don't cry for no reason. They're crying because it's the only way they can communicate, to let you know their wants and their needs. That's what happens with children who are acting out in school. There's a reason. What is that reason? Why didn't the school? Just listening to the school say your kid is bad, like they did mine. My kid was ADD. So what they did is they kept calling me to school, giving him detention. That's how I became an advocate, by the way, just so you guys know. Yeah, I'm one of those parents that had a kid with a disability and then became an advocate. Luckily for me, my kid had ADHD. But in 1998, that was the biggest, best thing ever. I mean, that was the like autism is now, ADHD was before. Like bipolar was a few years ago, ADHD was in 1998. So I go to the school. I didn't know anything about special education. And these fools are telling me my kid is just bad. Now, my kid doesn't act like this at home at all. My kid knows. Don't do it. And he knows what's going to happen if he does. So I didn't know anything about special education. I didn't know about laws. I didn't know about evaluations. I didn't know anything. Friend told me. Well, that's all it took. Once a friend told me what I could do, I ran with it. And then I just kept running. And I'm an advocate. But anyway, what changed a lot of things for me is that, and I've told a lot of my parents this, is that if this is what they're doing to parents of children who have ADHD, then what the hell are they doing to parents whose kids have serious disabilities like autism, like behavioral issues, like bipolar and social emotional and all of that? What about those kids? And so that's when I became interested in doing all of this. But it was the way they were treating me. And so I had to become an advocate for my kid. And so once I found out what they were doing, I was a force to be reckoned with. You know, that's my kid. So we're not having none of it. I made them sit down and explain it to me. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid that you're going to be seen as you're stupid. No, they're stupid. They are counting on you feeling that way. So when I go to a meeting, I ask all kinds of questions. And I tell them, I don't know. I'm not ashamed that I don't know everything. So I ask them, what did you just say? What does that mean? Break that down in layman's terms. If not for me, for the parent. Because I don't know what you people are talking about. And then they have to do it. And then after a while, if they still refuse to do it, you know what? I'm done. I'm all set with you. I'll be asking for an independent evaluation, or I'll be getting it on my own, because what you just said doesn't make any sense. And now I'm a layperson. So if it doesn't make sense to me as a layperson, you're not telling the truth. You're not being forthcoming. Now, I may not say a lot of that stuff about not being forthcoming, but my reaction is to go get an independent, to go get it done by somebody else. Then when I get it done, I bring it to the school and I say, see what I'm talking about? How come I can read this, but I can't read yours? How come this makes sense, but yours doesn't? So with my son, I found a lot of things were inherently wrong with the system. And they were deliberately targeting my son. My son was very smart. A lot of kids that are ADD, really, really smart kids. The problem is because they're constantly moving. I mean, if a fly goes by the kid, whoop, they're going to go look at the fly. I mean, that's what ADD is. And they're very impulsive and they blurt things out. But if you have a teacher that understands ADD, you can work with that kid and you can help that kid go very far. And if you look up famous individuals with ADHD, you could do with any disability. You will not believe the people that either have ADD or they're thought to have, or they're believed to have had that disability. Like Einstein. I mean, have you seen Einstein? Homie didn't know nothing about a comb. Yeah, no, he didn't know. So, Exactly, Michelle. That is how advocates, 90%, and if not more, of the advocates that are out there are because they have a kid with a disability. Because you get infuriated with how they're treating you. And my thought was, I can't even imagine. I'm a very kind of forceful kind of person. I don't take no for an answer, and I will do a workaround in a minute. And I'm really not afraid of anybody. I mean, just because you have a couple of letters after your name doesn't mean doodly squat to me. I'm gonna have a few letters after my name on October 24th. I'm gonna have a psychology degree in a bachelor's degree. So I'm gonna have a BS in psychology. Doesn't mean doodly squat. I haven't changed. I still believe the same way I did before. They're wrong and I'm right, and I'm different. See, I can prove it. And see, since I don't work for the system, they're screwed, truly screwed, because what the people that work for the school don't want you to know is that I'm sorry, I'm just reading some of these posts. Is that making sure I didn't miss an answer? What the people in schools don't know is that they're licensed. Yeah, the speech and language pathologists, OTPT, all of those people are either licensed or certified by the state. BCBAs, Board Certified Behavior Analysts, they are nationally certified. Each one of those disciplines has a dispute. You can file a complaint against them individually. Here's what happens. If you feel like a speech and language pathologist, for instance, didn't do it right, and they deliberately misled everything in the evaluation, you can file against them. It has nothing to do with the school. You can file against them and bring them to a hearing all by themselves. It has nothing to do with the school, which means they're going to have to go hire an attorney or represent themselves, just like we have to do, us parents. Yeah. And I let them know that when I'm at a team meeting, don't play with me. I'm not the one. Okay. I will ask those hard questions because you see, I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm not afraid to ask what ABA is. That's how I learn. That's how I learn about everything that I'm telling you guys about. Because when I go to team meetings, I tell them, I don't know what that means. What does that mean exactly? I want to know. Where can I find, Trisha, you could tell them. I have asked, where do I get that information from? I mean, there are times where they have good ideas, and I want to know about them. Where did you get that from? That's wonderful. That reading program, where'd you get that from? Now, there's plenty of them that are reading programs are junk. Personally, my opinion. I don't like the DRA too. And if you look it up, it was designed and developed by a teacher in Ohio in one school district, and I believe in one school. So it never went beyond that little area. And a lot of schools are using them as if they're the gospel, and they're not. I mean, it hasn't been deemed valid or reliable. And if you actually get your kid tested for a reading assessment, like using the Wyatt or some other reading assessment that's been deemed valid and reliable, you'll see that they missed a whole bunch of areas. So what's going to happen is if they keep using the DRA tool in your kid, and your kid has a reading disability, by the time your kid graduates, they're not going to know how to read or comprehend what they're reading, which means they can't function. You need to know, and you not only do you know how to read, you need to comprehend what you're reading, because the comprehension tells you what to do. Okay? So that's what needs to be done. I can see my reflection in the mirror of me doing this. But anyway, so the evaluations and what you want is all in the IDEA regulations, okay? Everything. Now, they just came up with, it's called the Code of Federal Regulations. It's ECFR, and I can put that in there too. And the way they've set this up is you can go down the list and look for what you want. Like if you want evaluations, you go down the list and then you'll see the word evaluation, click on it. Any area that you're looking for is in there, okay? Now, the way I learned how all these laws is because the school districts right across the United States, they break the same laws over and over again. Michelle says she's representing a parent and they're upset with whoever filled out the what is that? The DAYC2. They marked a point for 2 things that the child has emerging skills. In the manual for it says the question should be marked 0. See what I'm talking about? Okay? They're no good. And see, you're smart. See, you did like I do. I go buy the stuff. So now they can't, what are they going to do? They don't know how to answer my questions. And they look at you like they're deer in headlights. Great, good job. Guess what I will be doing? Yep, challenging the findings. That's my girl. You do that. And if you need help, you contact me. I'll help you write it up and everything, because they're wrong. And what you can do is go to pearsonclinical.com. Okay. I'm sorry, I keep hitting my thing. So it's shaking. Go to pearsonclinical.com, and whatever that evaluation is that they used, one, if you look it up, you can find out that it's never been deemed valid or reliable. I've never heard of it. Maybe it has, but I haven't heard of it. But you can go, there's a couple of links that I can give you where you can actually look it up to see if it was studied and what the study found. Like the DRA2 and the DIBBLs, they've actually been studied and they've been found that they're not valid and reliable. Now, if you find a study, if you find that there was a study and it found in favor of that study, make sure, because this is what happened. I don't know if it was the DRA2 or the DIBBLs, but every time I looked something up, it was saying how great a program it was and an assessment. Then I found out that was the people that did the study were the people who developed it. I mean, you can't call your stuff great. You can, I guess, but I mean, if you didn't put it through the appropriate mechanisms to deem your particular assessment valid and reliable, it's no good. Okay, I mean, you can use it in addition to valid and reliable assessments. Now, see, a lot of the assessments, like the DIBBLs and the DRA2, you can't even compare them to comparable assessments, such as, and that's one of the key elements in doing an assessment, in deeming it valid and reliable. One of the things that is looked for is, can it be replicated? Can the assessment be replicated across all genres, straight across the United States? Socioeconomic, the child, the children, adults, all of that. And okay, no problem, Michelle. Thanks a lot for joining us. The other thing is, oh, thanks, DESE PowerPoint. Ooh, thank you, Michelle. I'm gonna check that out because I'm all over the United States. So I always see, this is what I'm talking about. When I don't know, I ask. It's not bad that I don't know. I'm not Jesus. I don't know everything. I'm not, So that's cool. Hi, Barbara. Glad you came. So nothing like saying your test is great. That's what they do. It's like, woo, okay, I'm good. It sounds like, somebody else that does that all the time. That's in public office right now. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just saying. That's a fact. But anyway, so you got to be careful when you're reading these studies. Now, there's a few places that are reputable that actually deem the assessments where you can look it up. Burroughs, B-U-R-O-S. They actually, you submit the test to them, or the whatever it is, and then they will deem it. They will have people who come and tell you all about your study. One of them is the DIBBLs, and I actually had it. Some of them, in order to get a copy of that, because I actually used one, and I gave it to the school, and I said, this is junk. Here's the study on how much is junk. Here, go to this page. I've used it in hearings to prove to hearing officers. This is junk. I don't even understand what this is. Because if it doesn't compare to a assessment that's already been deemed valid and reliable in a technically sound instrument, like the law says, then it's junk. Another thing. First of all, a DRA2 is a screening. That's against the law. You cannot use a screening to determine eligibility, or to develop instruction in the classroom. It's under 34 CFR, I believe 174. Okay, it's called a screening. You can't use it. A screening is just that. It's a screening. All a screening should do is take you to the next level and say, we need to get this kid tested. That's it. And you can do that. You don't even need a screening. School districts like to use screenings to delay. You can't use it to delay, because once the parent puts in for a request for an evaluation, the school district has 60 days to get it done, to get it in your hand, and to have a team meeting to discuss the results of that evaluation. Yes, 60 days. Now, in some states, like in Massachusetts, they have 60 school working days, which is a crock. It's just a way, so they do it in 45. Because the schools, the state can make it better for the parent, the rules. So the federal law says 60 days. Massachusetts thinks they're funny. They say we'll do it in 45 because we're so good and we're so concerned with the kids. Yeah, no, they lie. They're not concerned with the kids, because when you add up the 45 days, that doesn't include weekends or any school day holidays where the kids are off, or any vacation like the summer. It adds up to 60 days, if not even more. I believe it adds up to more days. So they're actually in non-compliance. But it doesn't matter, because if you really want, you can go to a hearing, and the hearing officer will issue an order. And I've actually done that, where the school district had to do it in 10 days. Yes, school district had to do it in 10 days, and it was during the summer. So and that was in Massachusetts. So I don't know what they're talking about. It's gonna, okay. Thanks, Michelle. I'll give you the links, I promise. If I forget, you guys just tell me. But after this, I'm going to put in the links for the regulations, and for Pearson Clinical, and what was the other one? There was another one. Oh, the boroughs, where you can find out the evaluations that are being submitted, because there's a sequence of events that has to take place with these evaluations. Like I said, they can't use screenings to determine your child has a disability or doesn't. Here's the thing. If they did use, excuse me, I gotta drink coffee. If they did use a screening to determine, like, say, your kid had a disability in reading fluency, okay, let's say they did that. Reading fluency is huge. Okay, it's only 3 areas. If you look at the DRA2, it's only 3 areas. And by the way, you can get the DRA2 yourself. So any of these assessments that are not deemed valid and reliable, you can get them online yourself. Now, the ones that you can't get, unless you have a license and you have you can prove that you have been trained to actually administer the test. You have to be a psychologist, a clinical psychologist at that. You have to have a PhD in order to purchase these from, like, Pearson Clinical. But tests like the DRA2 and the DIBELS, you can buy them yourselves. Go right on Amazon.com and get them. Oh yeah, I do it all the time. The other one I got the DIBELS. I got Tillian, Lively Letters. I bought that. I have the ABLES, which is a wonderful assessment. It's not like the WISC. There you go, screenings. 302. Maybe is not an evaluation. Check 174. Check that one though. It might be 302 though. You're probably right. I'm looking right at it. So thanks, Michelle. That's great. Randy, hi girl. Reading fluency. Yeah, reading fluency. If you go on Pearson Clinical and you type in reading, okay? Reading fluency is basic reading skills. Reading fluency is like, okay, the best way to explain it is the way I interpret it, because the way my brain works. Okay, you know when a kid gets a report card, and on the report card, it'll say reading. Under reading, it'll say reading comprehension, reading fluency. It'll say that. It'll break it down in all areas, okay, for each category on your kid's report card. Well, that's the way testing instruments are too. So when you look up reading fluency, it's very broad. First of all, they're broad scores. So to do like the WISC 5, it will give you all broad scores. You want broad scores. You gotta do the WISC 5. Always do the WISC 5 or some intelligence testing that's been deemed valid and reliable. The WISC 5 is one of them, and it's the one that's widely used in public schools all across the United States. The Wyatt 3 can give you, it's actually been deemed by a lot of people in the field, in psychology field, that the Wyatt is actually more detailed than the Woodcock-Johnson 3, which is a test of achievement. In the test of achievement, it breaks down, you can go in and look at all the subtests for reading, comprehension, and I can't even think of them off the top of my head, but there's a whole bunch of categories for reading. It's not just reading fluency, and it's not just 2 or 3, it's huge. And it helps with your child in how they interpret information, what they're interpreting, are they getting all of the words, what are they actually doing, how are they putting sentences together. I mean, reading is huge, And if you can't do it, if you're only giving me broad scores, because now you have to understand, broad scores means that in specific, a small list of subtests, your kid scored pretty high, okay, to get average. Now, there's a way to get around all of that if you work for the school district. See, if the WISC-5 has, say, 5 subtests in an area, if they pull out the lowest score and just add up and average out the highest scores, kid's going to be average. If they throw in that low score, could deviate the score a little bit. It could demonstrate, depending on how low that score was, there's an issue. Yeah. A lot of people didn't know that. See, the test scores, all of the subtests are averaged out. It's basic math. You add up all of the subtests and then you divide by the number of subtests to give you the kid's score. It's easy as that. I am not kidding. So in order to get the best score so that school district doesn't have to give the kid anything, then they're going to pull out the lowest scores. And they're going to put a big chart in your evaluation. They're not going to tell you all the areas that they should have. Or they might say, well, we didn't do it because we didn't feel this and we didn't feel that. What do you mean you didn't feel? You have to do all of it. Because if they're giving you a reason why they didn't do that particular test, is because there's a reason. And the reason is they know already. If you're in the field, you know what the kid can do and can't do just by the first few tests. Because you can see it. Just like I know as an advocate what areas are impacting the child's learning and what areas, because I've been doing it for 20 years, where I really need to focus in on my assessment. The evaluators know the same thing. It's not rocket science if you've been working in this field long enough. So what they'll do is they'll eliminate or omit that particular test. They'll either tell you they did or they don't. They'll just pretend because they know you don't know. That's why you go to Pearson Clinical. And that's why you print out the sample tests. Yes, that's why you do it. Then if they didn't do it, let's say they didn't do the Wyatt Achievement or the Woodcock-Johnson Achievement Test or the reading, the Wexler family, that whole industry, the Wexler products, they have a whole bunch of tests. And one of them is a reading test. I believe it's called the WRML, I think. But I'll get it for you, okay? I'll tell you that too. I wish there was a way that I could pull this stuff up at the same time, but there's no, I can't add documents to here while I'm doing this. But anyway, I will put that out there too. Stop making a mess. But you can ask them, well, then how does this compare? How does the DRA2 or the DIBELS compare to? Now, what I like to do is get them in a lie. So I like to say, so this compares to yada, 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 yada test that I know about that's deemed valid and reliable. And they'll say yes, because they're crazy. They're seriously crazy. They will say yes because they know it's not. And they know. They don't know how much you know. And you just keep asking these questions. At some point in time, don't get loud, don't get nasty. At some point in time, though, they're going to say, can we move on? No, we can't move on. She can't answer the question? Why can't she answer the question? She's the evaluator. Are you telling me you can't answer the question? Good. I'm going to need an independent evaluation. Or don't even say nothing. Use the parents or tell the parent, or you guys use your insurance. Go to your doctor and get a referral for that evaluation. It's way easier than fighting them because they're sick men. But anyway, so when you're asking for stuff from the school district, put it in writing. So let's say you go to the meeting, okay, and you're telling them, I need an independent evaluation. Or you're not. It's not even about evaluations. You're going there for your annual review meeting, and they're saying that your kid is fine, and you're like, he's not fine. And so you say you want your kid tested. And they say, well, we don't have to do this. Yes. Oh, that's another thing. You can ask for an early reevaluation. Okay, now, if you ask for an early reevaluation, the school district has to agree to give it to you. Okay, that's under 34 CFR 300.303. So if they don't, then you take your little happy butt down to the doctor and get a referral to get that evaluation done. Now, when you get your own evaluations done, because they're stupid, so you have to go prove something to them. You must give them a copy, especially if it's in your kid's favorite. Give them a copy of it. Give them 10 days to review it. And when you give it to them, you tell them, here's the independent evaluation that I funded. I want you to review it. You have 10 days to review it and schedule a team. In 10 days, I want a meeting with you. Put it in writing and send it to them. Send it to the highest level person in your school district. Do not send it to a teacher. Do not send it to the principal. Don't do that. You send it to the special ed director in charge in your district, whether it's the pupil personnel, all of that stuff. Yep, there you go. Girl, you're on it, honey. Michelle got this. Good. Love, comrades in arms. That's what we are. You're absolutely right. Thank you for putting that out there. Hey, guys, go look at it. Yep, there it is. Oh, good. Michelle, can you look up, it's called Buros, Buros. I think it's .com, but I'm not sure. It might be .org. Could you look that up? And if you do, it's a college in Nebraska, I believe. When you get to that page, let me know if you're there and I'll tell you what to do, okay? I might be able to flip the screen, but I don't know if I can do it. Let me see. I'm just going to try something, okay, everybody? Wait. Stay there. Okay. Yep, I found it. Okay. So stay there, guys. I got this thing I'm going to show you. And it's so cool. Okay, on the Buros, B-U-R-O-S, Center for Testing. Okay, what you want to do when you get there is go under Test Reviews and Information. And then it says Test Reviews Online. That's the first one you'll come to. Click on it. Now, when you click on it, scroll down, okay, it says, this is where you can find the test that you want. You type in what you want. I'm going to put this out there so you guys can see it. I hope it works, okay? This is the right page and everything. I know I'm crazy. I don't know what to tell you guys. I love what I do. It's so much fun. Because, you know,